My name is Howard Schimmel. I'm Senior Vice President, Client Insights for the Nielsen Company. We've identified the need to be able to provide a more consumer-centric measurement. Not only our basis today, our sort of DNA is based on in-home measurement of TV viewing, which is what we've done for the last 40 years. We understand the need to be able to do a more comprehensive consumer-centric measurement, being able to capture not only when you're watching TV at home, but when you're watching TV away from home, when you're streaming, whether you're watching it on an iPod or any of the devices. We've actually created a strategy that we're calling Anywhere, Anytime Media Measurement. So that really says we need to measure it regardless of how it's being consumed by the consumer, where it's being consumed by the consumer. Consumer need to be able to consume video when they want it, the rise of DVRs, where they want it, the ability to watch streaming at work, to be able to watch video clips on their cell phone, things like that. Just the explosion in the number of different ways that consumers are exposed to video. Anybody in the national TV world, the broadcast networks, the cable networks, syndication, rely on our data as a proof of performance. They use our data to estimate audiences, which allow them to set unit rates that they use in selling advertising time spots. And then they use our data on the back end to be able to prove to advertisers whether they actually got the audience that they had negotiated for. The way our data is used is actually the same for all of our national client groups. We're actually working on a couple of different initiatives. One is to measure internet, so that we not only, and internet has two levels to it. One is, obviously, ABC would like us to know how many of our panelists are actually consuming Desperate Housewives from the ABC player, or NBC, how many people have watched The Office online. But it's also that advertisers want to be able to see, did someone see my TV ad and then subsequently go to the internet to do something like, maybe it's a Ford ad and they want to see if people went to the Ford.com website to configure a car. So we're working on internet. We're working on out-of-home measurement so that we could capture when people are exposed to video in bars, in restaurants, hotels, airport, things like that. We're working on measurement of portable video devices, be it when you consume video on your cell phone or on your portable iPod or on your Zune or any other device. Those are pretty much the initiatives that we have in place and we're at a stage where we're still doing a lot of the research and testing, working very closely with our clients so we understand exactly how we bring this to market, when and how we do it. We don't have these measurements deployed. We're still trying to figure out what's the device. Do we have the device deployed in our current TV panel or not? We're still working on that. I mean, there's obviously a lot of data that talks about how much time people are spending with streaming video, how much time they spend watching TV out of home. One of the things that's surprising to us is all of this is happening at the same time. Last year, Nielsen reported that TV viewing in home was at an all-time high. So either people are creating more time to consume media, which they might be by the fact that they can multi-process, do multitask, or it's giving them the opportunity to consume media times when they maybe couldn't. Last night I was sitting in an airport waiting to take a plane back to New York. I had taped on a DVD the last week's episode of Heroes. So while I had an hour to sit in the airport, I watched that. Where a couple of years ago, before that technology existed, I would have been sitting there reading the newspaper or reading a book or something like that. So we're seeing all of the other data that points to all of these platforms being very well embraced by the consumer, but at the same time, we're not seeing any change in the amount of time people are spending watching TV in their homes, which is really sort of surprising to us, but speaks well to the opportunities for us and our clients. Nielsen as a company has an outdoor measurement service which measures just what you described, people's exposure to billboards in Times Square or driving down the highway. We're about to launch a service that deals with media you're exposed to at retail. So, remember, when you're standing at the checkout counter at Walmart and they have their TVs playing, that's media. When you walk down, if you walk and you see an end aisle display in the supermarket, that's an advertising media because the advertiser's using that to try and sell products. So we're trying to obviously broaden what we do to be able to capture things like that. Everything's growing. HD penetration, people's exposure, people's ability to consume video everywhere. I think the latest stat we have is there's about 10% of our population that has DVD players in their cars, in their minivans for their kids, things like that. So it's interesting because we're seeing an explosion and consumers are trying out all of these new platforms. And there may be, I think, we'll go through a stage in a year or two where there's a little bit of shakeout because, we don't want to be, I don't think consumers want to be the tool belt guys where you have 85 devices, latched onto your belt. You want to get the one or two that gives you the functionality you need, both from a communication standpoint. I mean, we have cell phones primarily to make telephone calls. We don't have cell phones to watch video necessarily. I mean, that's a nice added benefit, but there'll be some shakeout, I think, in terms of what the consumers ultimately gravitate to.